Hey everybody, Bub Coons with Debunked. Carl Kirby here with R4H. We are answering Skeptics, part 4. I call this answering Forrest. There's going to be 10 parts. And let me, before we get into that, please go to r4h.com or debunk.org. You can get all our materials there, all kinds of cool stuff, plus our app. Download it. You'll have stuff in your pocket. As a reminder, a few months ago, or a long time ago, whenever it was, we released The Fossil Record Proves Evolution, Debunked. That was number 16. And Forrest, a scientist, responded to our video, and we're part 4. Here we go.
And we're debunking that Stephen Jay Gould and Richard Lewontin don't believe in evolution.
No.
Sorry.
See, we're done.
I'm digressing.
That's the same thing we go over. I know it's ridiculous that we have to do so many parts, but our whole point is this, and then it goes off on tangents. The fossil record proves evolution. Debunked. It does not. Now, there's all kinds of comments on our video, and here's one of them. Here we go. The fossil record doesn't show gradual change, and every paleontologist has known that ever since Cuvier, or however you pronounce that.
So, Bub, he couldn't find that quote.
Right. Well, here's the whole deal. This was in the video, and it was one of our points that everybody, all the paleontologists knows that there's no gradualism. And Stephen Jay Gould said this at a conference or something, at a speech.
A lecture.
In 1980. A lecture, in 1980. And some people have found that and have that. Forrest could not find it. And here's what he said when we said this.
And by the way, Bub, all that quote said, in our last episode, if you really want to see if it was consistent with everything else that he taught, go listen to some of those quotes that we gave last time. But since Forrest couldn't find the quote, this is what he said.
But I did find this exact quote cited in this book here called Creation and Evolution, Compatible or in Conflict by J. Seegert.
And the magician is back, because for the next 5+ minutes, poor old J. Seegert got beat like a drum.
Yeah, and I guess what the point is that he was trying to make is that Stephen Jay Gould may have said this quote, but Forrest couldn't find it, so he looks up J. Seegert, then he questions who that person is and his integrity, as if the quote didn't exist and he made it up and put it in a lecture. But he cited the source in his book, and it's cited, so the quote was from Stephen Jay Gould. And by the way, like you said. He had dozens and dozens of quotes about the lack of transitional forms in the fossil record, and he is an evolutionist, and he came up with the idea of punctuated equilibrium because the evidence didn't show gradualism. So anyway,
situation.
I think we got here we go. Let's switch off into a whole other part of the video now, because this is the most important part, I think.
We did not.
But go ahead. You were going to say something.
We did not quote J. Seegert. We quoted Stephen Jay Gould, and the quote that we gave was consistent with a bunch of other quotes that we gave. But let's keep going.
Correct. Okay, I could go on, but there's always going to be opposing views, because on both sides of the debate, the same evidence is interpreted through different worldviews. You got to remember that, people. Facts don't say anything. People say things based on their interpretation of facts, influenced by their worldview. But that's a whole other subject, and I don't want to get into it right now.
That part's actually true.
Bub, I am feeling pretty good right now, man. We got something right.
Wow, that's good.
I think it's a transition. I think now we've won Forrest over. He's going to like us and be nice, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
he loves us. He loves everything, all our content. No, but hey, I would have to say, I have to comment on one thing. Actually, we got everything right. But it's just his opinion that only half of this part was right. But anyway, let's go for it. Keep going.
Let's see if we got anything else that he liked.
The point is, this part of the video is half right. People can come to wildly different conclusions based on the same evidence because they have different worldviews.
Like evolution.
Hey, man, we're doing good. And we got something else right. I mean, gosh, this is going to be so smooth.
Wait, I got it half. I'm sorry. We got it half right.
Well, that's true.
I don't think we got a full.
and don't worry. Those that love conflict, the bromance doesn't last too long, so it's okay.
But the problem is, evolution is not a worldview. It's a fact. Scientists are debating how evolution happens and why evolution happens, but they are not debating if evolution happens.
All right, Bub, I want to try something here.
Yeah.
I'm going to read a quote to you and see if this is it. This is the silver bullet that's going to shut this thing down, and Forrest is going to take his ball and go home because, man, there's no overcoming this. Are you ready?
Yep.
You're ready.
I'm ready. I think so.
But the problem is, creation is not a worldview. It's a fact. That's it, bub. We're done.
Hey,
argument is over. We win.
Just because we said it, yeah. And who said it, man? Carl Kirby. That's the most important part to me. That's amazing. So yeah, that's it. Debate's over, right? Because that's what he said, right?
You and I both know that's not going to happen. So my point is, just because Forrest said, and this is what he said, but the problem is evolution is not a worldview. It's a fact. You wouldn't accept it from me, so why in the world do I have to accept it from you? I think we have to question, we have to dig, and we have to follow the evidence. And the evidence doesn't support what you're saying.
Right. I kind of think it's like begging the question. The whole issue is where they're asking is if evolution happened. And their answer is it did.
Yeah.
No, that's not the answer. I'm saying, well, how did it happen? Well, we don't know. Well, why did it happen? Well, we don't know. Wait a second. Is evolution a fact? Yes. How is it a fact? I don't know. It happened.
All right, bub. I got a quote from you now. And this is going to be the end. Be all, end all. We're done.
This is a good
Here
one.
we go.
This is a good one. Yeah.
Christians are debating how creation happened and why creation happened, but they are not debating if creation happened. So there you go. Oh, man. I mean, Sir Richard Dawkins and all the big dogs, welcome. Take your ball and go home. We win.
Yep. We win. Because I said
not going to accept it. I think another part of the problem is how do you define evolution? Evolution is a fact. Okay, how do you define it? So I thought maybe we could bring in one of the big dogs, one of the well-known guys. How about we bring in our buddy, your guy, my favorite guy, Bill Nye, the science guy, right?
Yeah.
When I was a kid,
dinosaurs.
I did. I like this show, man. I really did.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie, but something interesting happened as you watched that intro there. Did you notice anything interesting in the intro, bub?
I noticed a lot of interesting things, but I'm a kind of a visual guy. I was like interesting that all the implications and all the artwork that goes to imply, quote unquote facts. They just, again, part of our video is like, watch out for deception, watch out for little images, and watch out for fabrication. So anyway, yeah.
I totally missed this piece right here when I was a kid. Now, evolution, one of the explanations is descent with modification from pre-existing species. Gradual changes, mutation adds up. But I didn't catch this when I was a kid, the depiction of ape-like ancestor to human, which, by the way, if you want to follow the evidence, man, we do a whole talk on every one of those supposed ancestors that you see in that step there, that March of Progress. You want to see something ugly, go back and look at the original chart for the March of Progress. I've got it from the original book that my parents bought me when I was a child, and I went through every one of those supposed ancestors, showing the hunched over things, standing up gradually to become humans. None of them, the last 5, prior to the last 5, none of them are in the human lineage according to the secular resources. Now, it's junk, man, but we're not doing that in this episode. So we wanted to let Bill define evolution for us, so here we go.
Change. Living things change over time. Little changes and big changes. Whoa. That's evolution.
So, bub, we're done. We lose. Evolution is a fact.
Well, evolution, again, depending on how you define it, right? And he's just saying any kind of change is evolution, and that's kind of a trick, right? That's
it is a trick.
That's kind of it's the fallacy of equivocation, right? Where you have one definition and you change it as you talk through the thing. Evolution that says things change, nobody doubts that. No Christian, most people don't doubt. I don't doubt it. Things change. I'm here. Everybody knows things change, right?
I can prove it to you,
What we're saying is,
I can prove it to you. Absolutely.
Okay, well, go ahead, prove it.
Let me show you my wedding picture.
Yep.
Don't laugh.
You don't look like him anymore.
That was about 80 pounds ago, man. So absolutely,
you have evolved.
I have evolved. Things change over time, but we agree with that.
Yeah,
we don't have a problem with that.
What we don't agree with is that kinds can become different kinds over time and over random mutations and stuff. We actually don't believe that. and the fossil record does not
Doesn't
show
support
that.
it.
Right,
As a matter
doesn't
of
support
fact,
that. So there's
let's
two big differences, right? Molecules to man, right, and versus the change within a kind,
Exactly.
which we could even call speciation, or however you want to say
Speciation.
that. It's like we're fine with that.
Absolutely.
It happens all the time. Yeah, and great.
And if this mechanism of slow changes over time is how we got from a worm to us, I'd like Bill to show you this example, because it was one that I watched and I thought, oh my goodness.
Yep.
Here we're in trouble.
Yep, let's do it.
Not. Watch.
So take a look at this. It's a picture of my parents, and I'm going to make a photocopy of it. Now watch. See, the copy looks just like the original, but not exactly like it. There are some small differences, because there's some small changes that happen every time you make a copy. The same thing happens when living things make copies of themselves, like when they have children. See, the children of living things are always different from their parents, but not completely different. I mean, they're related. They have the same genes.
So there you go, Bub. That's how you get a worm to grow legs. You make a copy of a copy, and there's some mutations that take place in there, and then eventually that worm will grow legs to crawl out, well, to turn into a fish, to grow legs to crawl out into the land, to become an amphibian, to turn into a rat, to turn into a wolf-like animal, to go back into the ocean, to become a blue whale. That's all it takes is time and mutation.
Just curious how the copy of a copy of a copy actually ends up in every other kind of world, if that's the process. So when I copy something, well, look, do we have something that we can just show what happens when we copy and copy and copy and copy stuff? What happens?
I want to show you the second part of what Bill does first, because I use this when I talk to kids. I say, what is the problem with that explanation that you just got there? And the kids, they're really thinking and think very critically about what he just said. Would that process lead to worms growing legs and so on and so forth? But let me give you one more step. Take a listen and see if it would really work.
See, you and I are the product of billions of years of tiny changes to our DNA. They happen every time living things make copies of themselves. Like every time we have children, when your grandparents had your parents, and when your parents had you. This process of change is called evolution. It's the reason we all look the way we look.
So after I show this, the kids really start to get it. And so, Bub, what do you think? Make it a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy of a, and 30 more minutes will make it a copy. Do you think that would eventually lead to a worm growing legs or not?
No, I think it leads to massive degradation. Like I think this video gives a pretty good visual of. Take a look.
Yeah. What would making a copy of a copy of a copy actually accomplish? Watch.
I'm sitting in a room different from the one you are in now. I am recording the sound of my speaking voice, as well as the image of myself, and I am going to upload it to YouTube, rip it from YouTube, and upload it again and again, until the original characteristics of both my voice and my image are destroyed. I'm sitting in a room different from the one you are in now. I am recording the sound of my speaking voice, as well as the image of myself, and I am going to upload it to YouTube, rip it from YouTube, and upload it again and again, until the original characteristics of both my voice and my image are destroyed. I convert it to YouTube on my computer. I regard this activity not so much as a demonstration of a digital fact, but more as a way to eliminate all human qualities myself. I'm sitting in a room different from the one you're in now. I'm recording the sound of my speaking voice, as well as the image of myself.
Okay, so then we have what appears to be something that I think is pretty clear. When you copy something, it loses information, doesn't it?
Exactly.
It does. So how in the world, if it loses genetic information every time you copy something, if that's what they're going to use, copy and copy and copy. Yeah.
Or Bub, I have to also correct myself because I'm sure we'll get critiqued on this. Not only will
Yep.
it lose information, it'll rearrange information, or it will add information as far as the same existing information. So you
It'll
can start
copy
with 5,
existing information,
right?
but it
You
won't
start
add
with-
new information.
You'll get 5 fingers, and you can go to 6 fingers, or you can get 3 fingers. You can rearrange it, you can add more of it,
Yep.
or you can lose it, but you're not going to create new genetic information. And that's the problem. If you're going to use that mechanism that he just gave of making a photocopy of a copy of a copy of a
Yep.
copy, you're going to get what you saw in that video, a mess, and it will not accomplish this.
Progressing from simple, spineless shapes to more complex forms, animals develop a backbone and receive the first vertebrates.
And because
I just
it's the same with the whale. Remember, if you want to get the nose holes from just the nose to the top of the
Yep.
head, there's a whole lot more going on. The fluke, guys, to get something that doesn't have a backbone, to grow a backbone, there's a whole lot more stuff involved in that. And mutation isn't the answer. And the reason we can be so dogmatic on that is because we can go to a non-Christian, a specialist in this area, and take a listen to what he says about mutation being a mechanism by which we can gain new genetic information. Not even one mutation has been observed that adds a little information to the genome. Not one. All point mutations that have been studied on the molecular level turn out to reduce the genetic information and not increase it. That is the opposite direction that you would need to get a worm to grow legs.
that's the biggie, right? That's the biggie, which I think we should get into, although it has nothing to do with really what the video that we're trying to say, because there's all kinds of other problems with evolution. All we're trying to say since the beginning is you will not find gradualism in the geological record. As Darwin predicted, it wasn't there then, and it isn't there now.
Right. And if Bill Nye's his example of making a copy of a copy of a copy, if that is exactly how it happened, then guess what you should find in the fossil record? What we don't find.
Yep.
So,
Exactly.
We have one last video, though. Let's take a look.
A theory is not a guess. It is a functional explanation of observed natural phenomena that's backed by all the best evidence that we have.
So, we will have to
That's what
address
we'll cover next.
Next time.
Yeah, next time. Okay. In the meantime, go to r4h.com or debunked.org. Grab our app, share it, love it, like it. Give us some comments, whatever you guys want to do. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.
See ya.